Hey, Garrett.
Hey Clarence, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Well, thank you for giving me some of your time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for doing the interview.
So, just to get into it, tell me a little bit about the title "Heroin and Helicopters" and why that was what you wanted to name the album, and a little bit of the thought process behind it.
Well, I met Carlos Santana at the Fillmore. I had a show there, and he came and saw me. And he said to watch out for the two H's. He said they were heroin and helicopters, and didn't work well with musicians. And I felt like it made a lot of sense with today, with all the addiction and the epidemics going on, and not just with substance abuse, but with social media, conflict, cell phones, all these other things, computers. So it got, and also the helicopters part kind of was a good metaphor for trying to get somewhere really fast, taking shortcuts, kind of a decadent lifestyle, which is also dangerous as well, and just kind of the lack of quality in the stuff that we buy.
So, when you apply that to where we are as a society today, what do you see?
What? I mean, I think, what do I see as far as what?
Like, are you optimistic about the future?
I think the whole thing is I think it's an individual choice. I think people have to make individual expressions, decide what individually they can do to evolve themselves as human beings. I think that I see that as a very positive thing. But I do recognize that there are things that take us away from being still and present in our own lives. But of course, I mean, I think the future can be a scary thing. But there's always, throughout time, there's been challenges, and I think challenges build character. So it's just it's not really a damnation of the society. It's more just a sign of, artist's job is to kind of like see what the pulse of the world is.
Yeah.
So it's just really, okay, that's there. That obstacle is there for us. How does the individual evolve and become a better person with these new challenges?
So I guess that would also emphasize the importance or the beauty of a live show, because it's, in the modern technology, you can't replicate what it's like to be in that moment.
Yeah, and that's always been a challenge for me, learning to stay in that, even as a performer. That's something that really kind of tests those boundaries of whether you're able to really stay in the moment when you perform.
Yeah.
That's not, none of this stuff is easy stuff.
Yeah.
It's easy to say don't sweat the small stuff, but really, what do you, and things like that, because there's all these ancient wisdom sayings that we say all the time, but do we really understand what they mean, and do we kind of implement them in our life? And when we try to implement them in our life, what happens?
Yeah. And I've been following your career since the self-titled debut album, and I've noticed that obviously you've always been one to bring light to societal issues. But with that said, does it ever get frustrating that what you sing about, those issues never seem to get solved, or does it always perhaps put fuel in the fire to keep going?
I mean, I think, I guess my biggest regret probably as a human being, in seeing what society has had has been just in my short life has been that we haven't solved the education situation, and I also think we haven't openly discussed personal relationships as well as we could have.
Yeah.
I don't think that dialogue has kind of opened, and also, we're a young nation. I think all these other countries have had such long histories, so we're kind of like the adolescent of kind of bravado period, and we haven't really acknowledged the struggles and suffering that some people have had to endure during the building of this country. I think we haven't been as nice to each other as we could. I think with all this acquired wealth over the years, we haven't been able to figure out how to educate our children, how to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think the race discussion or acknowledgement or cultural acknowledgement has been put on the table to where we really can understand each other in that. So I guess that those would be the three things that I feel that we could tend to grow on.
Yeah.
But I don't, I like I say, I don't, put out things about society in order to necessarily change them. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
And I don't think that life,
the human condition.
Life is supposed to have pitfalls. It's just how do you deal with them? And I'm learning the more and more I do music is that music is just a vehicle for me personally to grow. And there's been times where I haven't, and I've realized, wow, I knew that before I got into this, and then I lost sight of that. And what does that mean? And how do I rediscover that?
Well, I guess that would also point to like the seriousness that you approach the idea of the social responsibility of an artist.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think everyone, you got to realize, like, you can't use that word artist lightly.
Yeah.
So there's people that are in entertainment that aren't necessarily artists. Their goal is to be famous. So it's not, you can't throw around that word very lightly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that within themselves. I think music in general is an energy thing. So, like, it's really people connecting to people's energy. So there's a lot of stuff that energy is really great, and it doesn't have to have any kind of social commentary to it.
Yeah.
But the energy is what transfers to everything. It's like the music now, there's a reason for it. It's not, it like a lot of the stuff that is happening with trap music and stuff. Some people say, "Oh, well, it's not very good. It's not as good as the old hip hop." But a lot of these kids were not educated in good situations. They were thrown on Ritalin. They were, they were kind of put these cell phones in their hands, which they have to pay for, and all these people are trying to get. All these marketers are going at them, and they've been thrown into this society. So they're just singing and rapping about what they've been exposed to. So it's very real.
Yeah, yeah, and that's their experience.
Yeah, and it's like they've been pretty much told it's all about the money.
Yeah,
and even generations and generations have been chasing that dollar dream. So it's not something that is new, but I think other civilizations have figured out it's not about that, and we were kind of taught it was about that.
Yeah.
How to get there.
Well, that's the American dream, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of interesting about the American dream, because it came out of necessity. It came out of people literally starving, so they had to get on to America, or being politically or socially, what is the word, oppressed, and they had to, with their life or whatever, they got a group of people that were enslaved, and you had other people that were used as cheap labor.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. But I think there's, unless we have, America has a cultural identity crisis going on. We don't necessarily have a culture of ancient wisdom that we can rely on. I think some people have brought that with them, with their cultures, but we fail to have that.
Yeah. Well, at 50 years old, what is your outlook on life these days? Do you see any change in your mindset, or maybe a perspective that you're having, or is it the same kind of outlook you've had as you've progressed?
Like I said earlier, I'm just I've identified music now as hopefully just personal growth.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I came into thinking, oh, well, if I would just get this and get that, or get this, or achieve this, or be able to make a record, or get a record deal, and all these things that were really part of the journey. But I just, hopefully can use that vehicle for my own personal growth.
Yeah.
And evolution. So I'm looking at that more as really what it is, and the challenges. And I think the universe will always put obstacles in your direction. It's really how you react to them. I haven't passed all the tests that have come up over the last 15 years. Some I've failed miserably, and I have to look back at some of those personal decisions I've made, and kind of adjust those things, because the things that I thought would make me content, actually didn't. So it's all different types of things you can do beyond meditation and self-evaluation and mental and physical and spiritual wellness.
Well, that's always a really hard lesson to learn, is that the only thing you can control in the cosmos is how you react.
Yeah, and it's not easy, because once you start really being aware of it and trying to quell your reaction and like kind of, what is that? Kill or be killed kind of thing that goes on with us.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, fleet response, like
fight or flight
thing, is that the universe will put more challenging things into your place. Like,